Hello, this is Caleb Aurand, and I am going through the Austin Coding Academy. I'm currently in their JS311, that's their JavaScript Node Express class, and I am going to do the Class 2 blog today, and this is my video blog. So, the Class 2 blog prompts are: how do you organize your code? What are some suggestions you find on the web? Can you describe your workflow when you create a web page or web app? And how about if you can't work out how to solve a coding problem, where do you find the answer? Why and how do you know? What problems have you solved that didn't involve you coding? Talk about your preferred development environment, what IDE or text editor you enjoy and why, and how are you keeping up with the latest developments in web development. So we're going to cover those questions for this blog video today. And the first one: how do you organize your code? What are some suggestions you find on the web? And honestly, I don't usually go to the web really very much for this because I don't want to really rely on too many other people for their opinions because their brain might not work on the same way that my brain works. And so when I am going to organize my code, I might have different ideas of what folder names I want to keep some specific files in, and then what the file names should be. And so I'm going to organize my code based on what works and makes sense for me. So if I'm building an Express app, I'm going to have a routes folder that is just called routes. And in that routes folder, I might have the user routes file. Then I might have a more like an admin routes file. I might have a teacher routes file if it's for some type of like grading application. Um, for the controllers folder, I'll have that folder named controllers, and then the controllers files in there. If it's a really small app, I might only have one file named controller.js in there, but I might also have uh, just the generic controller.js, but I might have users controller.js, or I might have students controller.js, teachers controller.js, admin controller.js, or some other more specific file name for that. When I'm going to build that app, I'll have a few different folder names, and I'll have those like that source folder that those controller folders and routes folders and model folders will be in, and like a database folder that holds that specific database information that you might use .env to hold that information in for that .env file. Um, and then for organizing the code specifically on the files, I'll take that code and I'll put all the variables up top. I'll put the requirement statements above that even. And then once I'm done with that, I'll start building out those functions. And then towards the bottom of it, I'll have the function calls towards the very bottom. Now, next question: can you describe your workflow when you create a web page or a web app? So I have a yellow legal paper right here, yellow pad. And I'll show you a little bit of what I got on here. It's just pencil and paper. That's how I start. I try to get some of the things, what's going on in my brain, just onto some paper. And that could have some ERD diagrams, ER diagrams, entity relationship diagrams. So it could have like teachers, classes, students, and for a specific class, different grades. It might have some basic layout of what a page might look like. It might have the information that is wanted to be on there. It might have some buttons and some things that people can click on that they specifically want on there. And if I'm working with a client, like I've been working with my wife a little bit on this, on what she, as a former teacher, would want to see when she was looking at this stuff, I'm just writing everything down and I'm trying to group it together in a way that meets that client's need while also making sense for me, so that when I go back a week later and I'm looking at this information, it all fits together. I can follow my own thought flow and thought pattern of that previous writing session. Once I'm done with that, I'll start plugging into either a Trello board or writing on some simple post-it notes on the computer, some sticky notes, and that's what I actually have a little bit on about these blog questions today. Just a sticky note right on my computer, and I'll try to be answering those questions. And I might do that for this. Just a okay, I have to do this first, then that next, then that next. For the class notes for this JavaScript 311 class I've been going through, I've been taking notes directly in VS Code. And once I'm done with taking notes, putting out a flow pattern of what I'm going to do for work, then I'm going to create the file tree or the folder structure of everything that I think I'm going to need for that project. And so I'll put in those controller files, that source file, those routes files, that app.js file that's at the top level, and any of the model folders and .env files and all those things that I think are going to be necessary. And then I'm going to follow that workflow that I put on that sticky note or on that Trello board. And I'm going to go into that folder and I'm going to start typing out what's going to be needed for everything that is going to be needed in that file. And so I'll write a comment on every function, every import statement, every and then what that function is going to need as the input, what it's going to return as the output, if there's going to be a next statement that's going to be needed when that function steps to the next thing that needs to happen right after it. And when I'm done with all of those comments on each of those different files, then I'll go and I'll actually be code the actual code for all those functions and for all those calls and then all those import or require statements and everything. And when I get to that granular level for that, I find that actually writing out the code becomes a lot easier because I'm not needing to think of, okay, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? I'm just going through, I already know, I've already planned out and written out what I need to do next, and I just need to do it. That way I don't, I go from that top level of thought level to down to granular, and I've already thought of everything that needs to be done. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be debugging that needs to be done and figuring out why something's not working, but there's a lot less of that. All right, next question. You can't work out how to solve a coding problem. Where do you find the answer? Why? How do you know? And if I can't figure out how to solve a coding problem, whether it's let's say it's like a hacker rank problem, or if it's a something that's wrong with my own code that's running, first I'm just going to start from the top of the folder or file, and I'll go. Well, back up. Say we have the error code first. I'm going to look where does that error code say that folder file name and line number is that the error is happening at. I'm going to trace it back to there, and then I'm going to look above it. I'm going to look below it. I'm going to see if it's right immediately around there. If it's not, and I can't find it right away, then I'll go to the top of the file. I'll begin looking through every little line of the code, and I'll be specifically looking for the variables it's calling, the inputs and outputs, and things that the function is using if it's a function that is casting that error. And if I can find that maybe it's just a missing colon, a missing dash, maybe something's not capitalized right or um, underscored or some, if there's some little mistake, which usually that's the case, it's some little mistake, I'll try to find that first. If I can't find it, then I will maybe I'll book an appointment with a tutor. Maybe I can't wait that long. I'll try to call up a friend or put my that little snippet of code or ask somebody on Discord from our class to come and look at this for me. If the class is that night, I'll ask the instructor to look at it for me, and then try to find the answer first by myself, then asking for help. But more than that, if it's something that seems like this is an error that is very common, I'll just type it right into Google. How do I fix this? And that error description. And if it's casting a specific error number, I'll put that in Google and try to find it. How do you know what the answer is? When if I've either found the answer and the code seems to all be running correctly and all of the tests are passing right, then I'll know it's working well. If the instructor and people I'm working Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Why is this not working?